right, it is Way Up with Angela Yee, and I'm here with my partner, Stacey Tisdale, my partner in Wealth Wednesdays.
And we are trying to keep your blood pressure from going way up this tax season.
Ooh, I'm already nervous just thinking about it. My heart's beating fast. Dr. Shonda Love is here. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And let's talk about what it is that you do, because you started your own organization to help keep our blood pressure from going up.
Yes. We established this back in 2019. And so I established this organization with not only taxpayers in mind, but tax and accounting professionals as well. The tax industry is ever changing. There's new tax laws, tax credits, tax deductions that at times it could be overwhelming just for us.
Right.
And so with the organization, we provide so much. We provide training, resources, mentorship, coaching opportunities, as well as I'll be hosting our conference this year in Dallas, Texas. And so also tax professionals can receive their CE accreditation when they attend my conferences as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, definitely. So she helps you with your taxes and also helps you become a tax professional. And we'll get into all of that. And we're talking about blacktaxprofessionals.com. But back to our blood pressure.
No, because I'm not gonna lie, you said that because I was like, I want to learn how to, I like to get.
She learns everything.
I do.
She
everything
does
that
everything.
I need to do in life, I
Yeah.
like to know how to do it myself. So I'm in the middle of getting my real estate license.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then I said the next thing I want to learn how to do is
tax.
Yes.
Taxes? Yes. Well, just know that I have you. It's a lot, but that's why I created. To be honest with you, that's why I created that organization, because it is a lot. And I believe in iron sharpens iron. So if I have experience and you have experience, and then we come together collectively and share, our education, our knowledge, then, I think that we are moving by itself, but we are a force when we're together.
Well, I want to ask you this. What is your background when it comes to what made you want to do this?
Great.
Right? Even with you, like your experience with doing your own taxes, growing up, your feelings about finances, about being an entrepreneur. Because I always like to know the why when it comes to people doing why they do what they do.
Great question. My background, it was a paralegal. So when I went to college, I received a degree in legal specialization. And it was funny because I was always great in math. And so my counselor, when in college, she was like, you ace all of my courses in math. I took trigonometry. And I was like, yes. She was like, I'm sorry, but I researched, your major and you got criminal justice. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? And I was just like, I'm good at math, not knowing that what almost like 25, 30 years later, I'm tapping into it. So my passion, what really drives me, is to be a help over for our people in general. I remember when I first started, I had no help, none whatsoever. No one I can call to get information, just to say, hey, could you be a mentor? Nothing. And I know what that felt like.
Right.
It made me want to give up. And so I made it my business to, when I got to a certain point in my career, that I wanted to turn back and help others so it wouldn't be so challenging.
All right. I love that why.
Yeah. Can we get back to my blood pressure now?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you do your taxes yet, Stacey?
Day after tomorrow is my appointment with my accountant, but I will
Okay.
be extra prepared because of
Okay.
Dr. Love here.
Okay.
So I remember when we were talking, you said that one of the biggest surprises a lot of people are going to find this year, that a lot of those COVID tax credits and those child care tax credits and those big refunds that so many people got used to. It's okay, back to my blood pressure. Go ahead. Tell us.
Oh, my goodness. So last year, it's like they had tax credits coming from every which way. That's why, it was all over the Facebook and, social media, that these large tax refunds, but they came and they left. Unfortunately, it's back to the basics. So those credits are no longer available at all. And so this was really, I would say, a challenging year.
Yeah. And student loan debt, what about that? Is there...
Well, the great thing about it is that a lot of people, myself, I didn't have it. I didn't deal with that. But I know a lot of my friends that did have it, and they removed it.
Okay.
Removed it. And one of my customers, surprisingly, they removed that debt. And she had made a payment, and they sent her that money back.
Ooh. Ooh,
Yes.
look at that honest government.
I said, you know what? That wouldn't happen to me, right? I wouldn't be the one to get that check back.
I want to ask you this, right?
Okay.
Because some people are nervous about maybe they've done things on their taxes that they shouldn't have done in the past and didn't get caught right away, but they're nervous, right? And so what can you do in a situation like that where maybe like a little bit of like maybe some tax fraud or something, and now you're like, damn.
Some people even skip time. They even
or
skipped a year.
Certain things that you may have done that you're like, damn, maybe I could get away with it, but then I'm scared that I can't, and they're going to come looking for me, and I'm going to get one of those notifications from the IRS in the mail. What is the best way to handle a situation where maybe, you know, somebody was like, oh, you know you could do this, and then you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have. What can you do to fix something?
Great question. I would highly suggest taking a look at that tax return and going over it with that tax professional, or going over and having a second set of eyes on it, right? Because it with the IRS, you may think that you've gotten away with it, but with them, you don't.
Right.
I mean, it may lay dormant now, but eventually it will surface. So personally, I would always tell people to make sure that whoever you connect with and do business with, check their credentials. You know, I don't believe in adding stuff on your tax return that should not be there.
Okay.
First and foremost, I want to educate you. I want to, doing my consultation, I want to let you know why you're receiving this tax credit or this tax deduction and why you're not. So you can get a clear understanding that, okay, this is why my tax refund is different this year versus last year.
Because people are so concerned about getting money back, and they're like, what can I write off? What can I write off?
Exactly.
But some of those things you're not supposed to, and that could end up coming to bite you in the ass in the end. And another thing is that you're still responsible, right? Like even
Absolutely.
if somebody prepares your taxes for you.
Because you sign off on it.
Right. And so it's important to know what you're signing off on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But just in case, if you feel like wait a minute, I don't really know this. I tried, but, right? Yeah. Let me just, I would definitely, take a look at it and then have a second set of eyes on it just to make sure. And the great thing about it, you can always amend it.
Right. An amendment.
You can always do an amendment.
And blacktaxprofessionals.com, you do also have, because sometimes we want to know, how do I find the right person who's going to help me with my taxes or prepare my taxes? Where do I get a good referral from? So you also provide that?
Yes, I thought you would never ask that.
Okay.
So July 2021, I launched the first national black tax online directory. And case in point is that people wanted to do business with people they not only resemble, but share some of the exact same experiences. So on this directory, it's nationwide. So we have tax and accounting professionals, tax attorneys that's across the U.S. footprint that's actually signed up on my directory. We started off with only 50, and now we're over 500 in less than 2 years.
Wow.
So people go on to blacktaxprofessionals.com. They find someone through your directory, and I know you have 40 ambassadors, but you have hundreds of people all over the country that they can get their services from.
Absolutely. And the great thing about it is that technology is so advanced, so they can connect with someone that lives in Arkansas and they reside in Texas, because everything is remote. There's mobile app, user friendly, so now you can file taxes from the comfort of your home.
What are some of the most common mistakes that you see people make when they file their taxes?
On an individual business?
Both. Let's start with individual and then business.
Some of the common mistakes they do, first and foremost, they be in a rush to get their taxes done, and they have not received all of their tax documents. So then what ends up happening is that, case in point, if they actually borrowed from their 401k, and they're supposed to file that with their tax return, but they may get in the mail and be like, oh, okay, and just chunk it. So what ends up happening, they filed their tax return without it, and then the IRS will release their refund, but then the IRS then go and place that information on their tax return, which causes them to owe.
Ooh.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and we talked about that. We were just talking about that. That would imply filing for an extension. There's a little bit of a stigma around people saying they have to file an extension.
I feel like I do that every year.
You asked me if I do my taxes this week.
Yes, but at least I file for it.
Yeah,
it's worse not to. You can't just not do anything.
Tell us about that, and that there's nothing wrong with filing an extension.
Absolutely not. So you can file an extension, which gives you an extra 6 months to file your extension. To file your tax return, your business tax return. preferably. And that's if your business structure is a sole proprietorship or a single member LLC. However, if your business structure is a corporation, a partnership, or a multi-member LLC, then the deadline is September the 15th.
Okay.
But when you file an extension, that doesn't mean that you don't have to pay.
That is correct. When you file an extension, is the filing extension for time for you to file your tax return, not for what any tax debt that you owe. That is correct. So if you owe, then what ends up happening when you file your tax return, you can incur penalties and interest.
When I hear that, I get scared. I'm like, how am I going to? Well, isn't that the point of filing an extension because my taxes aren't ready? But you're saying the IRS does all that for you, and you were saying the IRS portal is really the greatest thing that they've ever done.
The best thing since sliced bread. So they rolled out a portal called ID.me. So it'll allow you to set up your account, and you have access to your prior tax returns.
I use it.
You use it, your transcripts. If you owe any debt, it shows you for which year you owe the debt. You can also set up payment arrangements as well.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say, since we were talking about the penalties and interest that you can get if you file for an extension, I've always paid what I think I might owe or part of it so that it'll lessen the amount of interest. So just because you are filing for an extension, like you said, you still have to pay, and there still will be penalties. But that's why my accountant used to always be like, well, you probably owe about this. If you could write a check for this amount, do that right now, because that way it won't be.
Covers,
yeah. So just
That's
putting
amazing.
that out there.
Yeah, that's amazing.
What's that portal again? You said it's really
ID.me.
ID.me. Okay, and you also, we're talking about the portal, and you said you also wanted to make people aware of some things when it comes to their IRS PIN number.
Yes, they can obtain their PIN number through the ID.me portal as well.
But it's not PIN number one and done forever.
That is correct. So every year you have the IRS provide you with the PIN number. Okay, and so you have to file that PIN number, or you can't really file your tax return before they allow you to file it, and then they'll reject it. Now, if you don't have the PIN number, you cannot process that tax return. So you have, if they provide you a PIN number this year, they're going to mail you a new PIN number each year, each consecutive year.
So don't throw away the IRS mail.
That's correct.
Or open your mail.
When you get that IRS
Always,
I'm always like, oh, Lord.
A bad mail opener here.
What are some things that you could write off that people might not know about? And not everybody can do it, but just some examples of things that you're like, did you know that it's possible to be, because I know some people, if you work from home, as many people do now, you can actually write off part of that. So can you discuss maybe certain things that you may not even be aware of that we should be, because sometimes you try to do your taxes yourself, save that little bit of money, but you could actually get a lot more money and know a lot more if you get a professional to help.
I agree. And I tell everyone, leave it to the professionals. Tax laws, they change every year. So to your question, I would definitely say that at that time when trying to file your taxes, that's not a good opportunity to do that at all. That fails every single time. I lost my train of thought because you said something and then...
if you work from home, so many people are working from home now, part-time.
Okay, great question. So there are many tax deductions from at home. Some people don't even know that you operating your business at home, you can expense off lawn care.
Really?
Yes. Maid service.
I don't have a lawn in Brooklyn.
Lawn care and maid service.
Maid
Wow,
service.
okay.
Absolutely. Maid service. The common things people know about the utilities, yes. Lights, water, and gas, internet. There's so much.
Netflix. Maybe no.
We have to watch Netflix shows to know.
I think that would tie in the line over with the internet. So I think it's all into the subscription aspect of it, right? So yeah, those are just some of the deductions. But what I do also offer my members is a free ebook. And so it's the ultimate tax deductions for 25 types of business industries.
Okay.
So maid lawn. So this is for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And to get back to Angela's point, you told us about some of the common mistakes individuals make, and you were about to go into entrepreneurs when we started talking about something else. But what are some of the common tax mistakes you see small businesses make?
The number one thing that I do see is that they lack having a good system or process or organization for their bookkeeping or their accounting.
Because sometimes you just Zelle payments or Cash App it to your employees, or you don't have the money in the account, so you're like, well, I just have to pay them from this account. And that's hard, because when you have a small business, listen, sometimes we just trying to make it by week to week.
Right. One thing I would definitely, highly recommend is utilize your business bank account for everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's easier versus you taking it from your personal and then like, oh, it's my personal, I'm going to just pay my employee. If you utilize everything from your business, then it's easy for you to go back and itemize those bank statements so you can actually look at everything from a bird's eye view and say, okay, this is what I, made. This is more expenses on this. I made income from that versus having it from this account. Because like myself, I have like over 8 business bank accounts.
Yeah.
And so I try to make sure that I utilize, and sometimes it's just thinking about it and staying disciplined, but then you're like, oh, I know I have that, because if in the event you are audited, that they're going to look from that particular bank account.
And now you got to explain everything.
Exactly.
And being audited is got to be the scariest thing. How long should you keep your records for?
6 years.
Okay.
6 years.
So let's just say somebody just hasn't paid their taxes for years, right? Because that happens.
Right.
Oh, it happens a lot.
Yeah, it happens a lot. What can you do so that it's not as overwhelming? Because then after that, are there ways to like get the penalties reduced or even waived? Like what can you do if you just haven't paid your taxes and now it's accumulated over the years and it's spiraled out of control for you?
First thing I would definitely say is don't try to file your taxes yourself. Hire a tax or accounting professional. And the case in point, like even though the tax credits are no longer this year for 2022, if you hadn't filed your prior tax return for 2021, those COVID tax credits are still available. Does that make sense? Versus
You might be missing something.
You might be missing out on that opportunity or missing out on the opportunity to actually receive a refund.
What's the IRS going to do to you, though?
If you don't file your tax
Suppose
return?
suppose someone went to file for 2021 and they didn't file in 2020. They didn't get those tax credits. So now what kind of penalties will someone incur if they skip a year?
Well, you know what? It really varies because I've had several situations where I've had individuals, they'll file their tax return for 2020. And they hadn't filed it for 2021. Sometimes the IRS will allow it to go through and they'll provide them a refund. But sometimes the IRS will hold it up and say, hey, look, hey, buddy, thank you for filing your 2020, but you hadn't filed your 2021. And so they'll send them a notice and therefore that person, so they'll hold up their refund.
Oh, wow.
Yes, until they file their 2021.
Okay.
So you just can't predict that, though.
You can't predict it because I've seen it where they're releasing. Then I've seen some situations where they'll hold it up. I have someone that need to file their 2021, but instead they don't file those when they file the 2022. And the IRS holds it up. And then they make them file and they'll send them a letter. You need to file these 2 years. And then when they file it, they'll release all of them together.
Now, what if they owe you money, but you haven't filed?
Oh, great question. I go through that every year.
Which I can't understand. I mean, if I'm owed money, I want to get my money. But then what happens?
Well, the tax banks have partnered with the IRS. So now they have what they call auto collect. So say, for instance, you file your tax return with me and you say, and your refund is supposed to be $6,000 and my fee is $599. I'm just throwing a number out there. Well, some happened where you didn't realize you had a debt, whether it was with IRS, it was with the education, child support, bank, whatever that is, and they cease all of your refund. Then the tax professional does not receive their prepare fees. And so what happens is that person is still entitled to pay those fees.
Okay.
And if they do not, because what the banks do is that the bank account that the taxpayer provided at the time of service, they would begin to garnish that from their account. And they would send them notification in advance.
And let you know.
To give you an option. You have an option. You have an option to respond and say, hey, oh, no, don't draft, and I'll go and take care of that. But if they do not proceed in taking care of it, they will garnish it like the IRS would come and garnish your check.
This is complicated stuff. Don't. First thing I said is like, what is? It's today. It's literally T-6. I said, what would you tell someone right now is flipping out about your taxes? And you said, first and foremost, do not go it alone. And that's why we love Black Tax Professionals. And you were saying blacktaxprofessionals.com. And you were saying you have some people out there who start for as little as $125 to help people do their taxes.
Absolutely.
And I also know that you dabble in all aspects of entrepreneurship, and you have a summit coming up, and I really wanted you to tell. Angela's a comedy fan, and you put a comedy element in your summit.
Yeah, so this year at our conference, we're going to have Bun B perform, as well as Kiki White and Faison Love. It's going to be our host.
Nice.
Yeah, so, great thing about it is that we know that as tax and accounting professionals, we have to actually get our CE credits. And so why not have a little fun with it? You go in and receive your education, resources, network, but in the evening, you're able to come back and network, rub elbows, and, just have a nice time.
Make taxes fun.
Yes.
Is that possible?
Lots of fun. Yes. Lots of fun. And lots of flowing cocktails and lots of fun.
Yeah.
That's for you empower entrepreneurs. There's more than just taxes, correct?
Absolutely. So it's just not geared over to, individuals in the tax and accounting industry. It's just for business owners in itself, because a lot of individuals want to tap into it. But overall, the speakers that we do have multiple businesses, and of course the tax industry is our common denominator,
right?
But a lot of them speak on a platform that can help you if you're interested in real estate, if you're interested in starting your business, on what structure you need to go, and all of that, the banks that are giving business credit and business loans. And so it's just like everyone coming together, definitely receiving their CE accreditation, but also providing other information that can help you succeed as a business owner.
Okay. Well, I love it. And once again, where can people find you on social media or online as well?
Okay. They can find me on Instagram at Black Tax Pro, as well as on Facebook at I am Shonda Be Love. And right now our online directory is blacktaxprofessionals.com, and if you're interested in attending our tax conference, it's at ABTP nationaltaxconference.com.
Okay.
So you're going to teach Angela how to be a tax professional.
Yes,
I know.
I
me
got
lower
you.
my
I
blood
promise you
pressure
I got
and help
you.
you do your
Once I finish with this
taxes.
real estate
Okay.
license and take my test, then
She really does all this
I'm telling you,
stuff.
that's next.
She really does. all
You
this
will
stuff.
love it. It's very lucrative.
Is politics next?
And it's not even that. I just like to know how to do things myself that I know I have to do.
Got it.
And so I just feel like that knowledge, for me to come up here all the time and like talk about things, it's nice to be able to talk about it from a space of, I took these courses, I took this, I got accredited.
Yeah. And also, as entrepreneurs, when you have to hire professionals, you need to know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Right. But it's nice to have somebody that, because you can't know everything.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it is important to have people that you can trust, that okay, Shonda's got me.
Right.
Yeah.
I got you.
Dr. Love. Dr. Love, thank you so much.
Thank you all for
Thank you.
having
We
me.
appreciate you. This sounds like fun, too. You made taxes sound like a great time.
Dr. Love's a great time. Dr. Love is a great time.
All right. It's Wealth Wednesdays.